Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being here this evening. You know what? I'll use my doctor voice. I'll be nice and suave while I introduce my co-host, Dr. Steve Stern.
No, it's
world-renowned intergalactic doctor. Oh, he's a lawyer. Lawyer makes better money, probably.
Well, I was in law school for a year. Okay.
So we're sticking with got some real world experience in this area here.
Well, so here's a story about that. I got a story about everything. I guess that's why I'm a writer, right? So I was on a full scholarship. Hey, Stephen. Okay.
Thanks,
I was
Steven.
on a full scholarship at the University of Miami Law School, right? So I'd go in there, I'm in first year, which is the toughest year. They basically say out of the 3 years, if you can get through the first year, you can do it, right? So I'm on scholarship. Now, I'm Jewish, so I had a Jewish mother, right, who was very, very happy that I was not only in law school, but, on scholarship, right?
Right, exactly. That's a win-win.
I get through the torturous first year of law school.
Yeah.
And all I really want to do is, write comic books because, there's just something wrong with me, right? And so
wrong with you and me both.
So I get through that first year, and then I sit my mother down. She was a single mom at the time, right? In Miami Beach, we lived. And I said, Mom, I'm not going back to law school, but what I am going to do is I'm going to go to New York City and write comic book stories. Well, can you imagine how my Jewish mother reacted?
I can just imagine me with a Puerto Rican mom. I get it a little bit,
and I pretty much got like excommunicated, for quite a little while.
Right.
But
I
did fulfill my threat to her, and I did go to New York City.
Right.
And I was writing comic book stories for these small, mostly like black and white publishing companies like Skywald and Countrywide, they were called, right?
Right.
And making like $50 or $100 maybe on a story. at the time, right? Because
Mhm.
we're back in the 1900s, as that Nate Bargatze said last night.
We're from the 1900s. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That Nate dude is funny. Like, I need to see like a whole set of him. But continue. Finish your story first.
Ken said a very funny thing about Bounty Wars. Is it a battle to see which paper towel is more absorbent? That's brilliant, Ken.
If
But
we
okay,
bring
so but
Don Chin on board
yeah, right.
as an assistant writer, that's what would happen.
Exactly. So in any event, just to finish my story for what
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
worth, okay, so how did I get back in the good graces of my mother?
yeah.
Well, many years later, I create Zen,
Hmm.
and we're very fortunate with him because it's selling a lot of books, and we do licensing, which entails making some
Yeah.
good money on the
Right.
two Konami video games and the line of
Hmm.
Just Toys action figures and the Interleg vinyl model kit and the chromium cards and etc.
Doing good.
And
Yeah, yeah.
and here's what I did. I made my mother my business partner.
There
Okay.
you go.
And she handled all the books and she got all the funds and everything, right?
Hmm.
And
Yep.
so,
Yeah, you made her a part of it. Yeah,
long,
that's
long
it. Yeah.
before my mother passed,
Hmm.
uh, she felt very good about the fact that I'd stuck to my comic book guns.
Good on
End
you,
of
man.
end
Yeah,
of
yeah.
story. End of
That's
story.
really cool. That's really cool.
What's your
Before,
story, Bill? What's your story? How did
well,
you get into comics, and did it disrupt anything in your family?
you know what? Before we get into my story a little bit, because I mean, we'll definitely just keep on talking and talking. Before we even got rolling tonight, a couple of Chet actually sent us a couple of questions.
Oh, let's go.
So let's see here. So while I'm waiting, I'll throw some questions at Steve. It's like so
Okay.
let's see what he's got here. One, what is Zen staff made out of? And what energy is it? More or less the origin of the staff.
Okay. Well, okay. So Zen is brought up by the masters of Om on the mystic planet Om. Okay.
Right, right, right.
This much I presume we all know because we know the basic cosmology of Zen, right?
Hmm.
So Zen becomes like the top acolyte of the masters in terms of the meditational ability, martial art ability, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the masters, in their wisdom, realize that there is no more that they can teach him. They also, in their wisdom, recall quite vividly that Zen was brought to them by providence from space, somewhere in space, right? The
Right, right.
teapot that he was ejected in by the
Hmm.
kindly female scientist Tesla on the planet Baltoon. That's how they found him, right? The teapot crashed into a reed-lined pond.
Hmm. Right, right.
So since he came to them from somewhere in space, and since they could now no longer teach him anything, the only thing they could logically do was send him back out into the universe to find his destiny. Okay.
Right, right, right.
So, as to the photon stick, it was ensconced aboard the hypership that the masters gave him. And what they explained to him was that years before, another traveler
Hmm.
came
Hmm.
to Ohm in his hypership. He stayed there. He eventually passed on. And so they had the property rights, as it were, to the hypership.
Right,
So
right, right, right.
when the fateful day came, they awarded Zen the ship,
Hmm.
and on the ship was the photon stick, right? Um, I couldn't actually tell you the materials it was composed of. I mean, I could say something flippant like titanium or something, but it's not, right? But
Right,
what I
right. It's
can,
some technology that other person had. It's like some kind of mysterious stuff that person, their background, their history. It's
right,
like I actually don't know that we have a background or history. This is like a mysterious traveler, and this was his ship, and this was his stuff, and they
right.
they gave all of it to Zen for him to use. You know.
Right, but I can tell you the
Mhm.
power. It's photonic power. It's what's called a photon stick,
Mhm.
meaning
Mhm.
it's light. It's basically light energy. It's photons. And
Right, right, right.
when you eject photons in sufficient number at sufficient speed, they
Mhm.
actually have a value whereby they can knock you the hell out.
Gotcha, gotcha.
They can
Now,
propel
now,
you.
now, Chet had a three-part question. I think the second part will be like super fast to answer. Uh, will Bounty Wars be a new storyline or a rehash or something mixed up?
No,
It's a brand new
oh
storyline. Yeah, this
no. It's yeah.
it's
It's well,
all
Bill.
new
Now
stuff.
you've
Yeah, yeah,
read it.
yes. So that
You
so
want to
that
check?
part is easy to answer, and then of course how much of the storyline will have Nira active in it.
Okay.
She's going to be there for the whole series. She's going to be there for all the issues of Bounty Wars. So
Yeah,
I'm very
but
excited about that.
the storyline,
Mhm.
it's a great question, Chet. And again, okay, to kind of give you a long answer, I've been
That's what we're here
a
for. That's what we're here for.
yeah, I've been a student and a fan of bounty hunting as a genre for decades. Okay, and so what I'll let me just say this story is steeped in the lore of bounty hunting, something you rarely see anywhere in popular media. I dare say there's at least as much. I can't compare
Mhm.
this exactly to the Mandalorian, but I'll tell you, there's at least as much bounty hunting lore. I think more in here than in any Zen story I've ever done before. And of course, we did the Zen Bounty Hunter book, and then Bill and I did that, and then Marat Michaels and I did Hard Bounty, right? But this
Right.
story really gets into the whole genre of bounty hunting to a pretty deep extent. And what I thought I'd talk about a little bit is bounty hunting. But before that, Chet's third question. Oh, well, we answered that Nira's in all the books.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yep.
so
So
okay.
So
So let's
I
talk
just
a
I
little
just
bit.
brought out a piece. I'll be inking this while we're talking for a little bit, and then
Is
when we get about
wow.
when we get about halfway through, this is a piece that somebody actually won in an art auction, and they bid on this piece even though it wasn't fully inked yet. So I'm over here finishing the inking on this piece, which
Yeah.
hopefully will be featured somewhere in the Zen Bounty Wars storyline, either
Mhm.
as a pinup or we're gonna figure that out. And then about halfway through the episode, I'll start sketching a head sketch of Zen, something that we can give away at the end of the episode.
The thing with you and I discussed, Bill, a little bit, maybe that the face-off thing, without giving too much away.
Oh, I was actually going to do the face off thing as an ad, but you know what? We can actually do that as a sketch to give away. I think that would be a fun sketch. I
Oh
think that
yeah,
would be cool.
the
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
will love this. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Okay, that'll be a fun
so
idea. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
so Chet and everybody, if I might just wax a little prolific, how do we get near a video game series? All right, Bill, what do you say to that?
Well,
Doc,
I think Kevin
Kevin,
answered that one. But
well,
it's you never know. It's like the more connections we make, the more series we come out with, the more people we meet. Like there's just
yeah,
endless possibilities, So you just never know when that opportunity is going to come. So we just have to be ready for it when it does.
yeah, yeah. All right, so to talk a little bit about how steeped in bounty hunting lore Bounty Wars is. It's a serious book, but there's a lot of humor in it, as is typical in Zen. I've been into bounty hunting for years, not as a bounty hunter, but reading
I
about
was
it.
about to say, Steve, I don't know about your hidden
Yeah.
past.
No.
Before he wrote
Uh,
comics, ladies and gentlemen, he was out there capturing criminals.
so I'm going to make some recommendations if the folks listening now or later, when it's
Sure. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
stuck up on YouTube. Um, when it comes to bounty hunting before it got going in space, okay, it was in the old west. In reality, I mean, that's bounty hunters were a fixture in the old American West. And in terms of fiction, a classic book is by, of all people, Elmore, the late great Elmore Leonard. He wrote a book called Bounty Hunters, and that's like, if you're into bounty hunting, it's like required reading, right? And Elmore Leonard is mostly known for his crime stuff, like Get Shorty, that was made into movies, and
Yeah.
all of its
Yeah, who doesn't love
hard.
Get Shorty? Get Shorty was a classic.
Absolutely right. So Elmore Leonard, Bounty Hunters, great book. And then there's one other guy that most people probably don't know about, even though he has written nearly 700 books. That's right, 700 books.
Dude.
And some of them are about a bounty hunter named Decker. And I'm going to show you a couple of them. Okay.
Cool.
These are books you can easily access either in print or electronically at, say, Amazon, right? I have no connection to this guy. I'm not doing this to make a few
We're not
bucks,
sponsored this evening by yeah,
but
exactly.
this is just, these are people I admire and learned from, right? And this again shows you kind of maybe my depth of commitment to the whole bounty hunting genre. Okay, who's the guy? Robert J. Randizzi. Okay. Now, this book here is called Bounty on a Baron. Okay. And it's about his iconic bounty hunter, Decker. Okay. And what it says on the cover here is that each of Randizzi's novels is better than its entertaining predecessor. And that is correct. Okay. And book list, for example, also says things like he has a definite ability to construct a believable plot around his characters. Because, like, these are serious but cool bounty hunting stories, right? So you can pick this book up easily. You could access it easily. If you really want to read quintessential Western bounty hunting story, right? And just to show you one other, by also, of course, by Randizzi, is called Double the Bounty, right? And like, I'll just read you off the back, the little copy. He almost paid the ultimate price for a crime he didn't commit. Now Decker is determined to track down others wanted by the law. He'll make sure the innocent have nothing to fear, but the guilty won't stand a chance against him. And then, as to the specific story, Brian Fox was a legend. According to numerous eyewitnesses, he'd held up a bank in Wyoming and one in Arizona on the exact same day at the exact same time. Decker has no idea how Fox pulled it off, but he's got a legend of his own to maintain. No matter how wily the opponent or impossible the crime, Decker always gets his man. And then the quote from Roundup, which reviews Westerns. Randizzi always turns out a traditional Western with plenty of gunplay and interesting characters. So, I've always been inspired by this guy's writing because, I try to have stories that have, they're not frivolous. There's a bad guy who's done some really terrible things, and Zen righteously is going to track this guy down one way or another. And Bounty Wars is just the ultimate Zen bounty hunting book thus far, because I always like to try to outdo myself, and I know Bill has that same philosophy, right?
Oh, yeah, we always try.
Yeah.
Our latest thing should be our best thing,
Well, if it isn't, then we're
we're doing it wrong. But I think that's why.
I got a question for the folks listening. Just like how you feel about the bounty hunting genre. Do you watch The Mandalorian? Just any thoughts about the old West bounty hunters or anything bounty hunting? Is it something that appeals to you? Have you read any books in that genre? Be curious to know. Take
a look over here. I think that's one of the reasons that maybe like the Zen stories resonate with people and that they like it is because it's rooted in all this classic stuff, and it's rooted in a lot of things that are real, considering that bounty
Yeah.
hunting was a real profession at one time in the Old West.
It still is.
I mean, there's still bounty hunters. I mean, I wouldn't watch like too many episodes of like Dog the Bounty Hunter or anything like that. But he was out there doing it. He's one of those guys, and so it's just kind of neat.
Like kind of a reality, unscripted.
Yeah, that was a reality TV show, version of.
Right? So, but hey, Bill, shipping that jam piece out to Andy Smith tomorrow.
Yeah. This is a jam piece.
Man.
Yeah, this is the jam piece that we added Zen to, and also Nira X, and now it's off to the next artist to add. Yeah, thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. I appreciate you giving me an update. I cannot wait to see that piece finished, all complete.
We need a Zen.
And Dog the Bounty Hunter. It's funny. I don't know how we were on the same, because I didn't see that yet. I'd mentioned Dog the Bounty Hunter, but I didn't see that yet.
Well, you wanted to video, but interestingly, we've done a lot of wild and crazy crossovers over the years. I don't know if anybody is familiar, but you are, Bill, because you drew it and I wrote it. We had, you know what I'm getting at. We had a Zen crossover with the Barbie twins. These were a pair of gorgeous twin blondes who were very big at the time in Playboy. In Playboy magazine, which I lament is no longer published in print. Playboy, to me, growing up, of course, you have the gorgeous, unclad women, but the fiction you would find in Playboy, the interviews you would find in Playboy, just no one else could compare.
Well, it's an institution too. It was something that was, I don't know if somebody would say that it's as American as apple pie, but it was certainly. It was part of the pop culture, and for such a long time. It was
American as cheesecake, I guess.
Yeah, you said cheesecake. There you go. There you go. You one-upped me on that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, that's one of your terms. But no, that was, I remember I was a huge Ian Fleming, James Bond fan, right? And one of the last James Bond books first came out and serialized in a couple of issues of Playboy, and man, it was amazing, right? So many amazing interviews in there with authors. Norman Mailer had an amazing interview in there. James Baldwin. I mean,
that's another thing about it. That's something else that I always liked about it too, is that it was like it sort of like ended up being a who's who of whoever was in pop culture at the moment. Always had some kind of interview or some kind of thing in the magazine, Yeah. It's like everybody had a.
Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy about Hugh Hefner. Like, was he a demented guy or a genius, or maybe he was a little bit of both, right?
Well, but, it's like it happens to the best of us. I mean, it's like I never thought some of the celebrities that ended up having some kind of problems or becoming very unacceptable for one reason or another. There's no reason to bring up specifics, but that there's just so many celebrities that it's just like, wow, I thought I knew the guy. I didn't think there was anything bad going on. I thought it was just just a fun institution, fun character, fun this, fun that, and then come to find out. But that's with any sizable group of people. There's going to end up being somebody in a group who's it's going to surprise you a little bit. I mean, that possibility is always there. Well, so it's not just Hollywood.
Life is nothing but full of surprises. So I'll go off on another tangent that hopefully there's something interesting here. So everyone is now super familiar with the terrible tragedy that happened in Lewiston, Maine, right? Mm-hmm. And this will lead into something, but it'll be a little circuitous to get there.
We're going on a journey, people.
When COVID hit maybe like late 2019. My buddy, one of my best buddies, who lives up in the state of Maine, and whose name is also Steve. He called me up. He said, "Steve, get the hell out of L.A. Come spend COVID time up here in gorgeous rural Maine." Okay. And I had lived in Maine. My wife and I had lived in Maine in the 1980s. And we were there. That's how I met Dan Cody. And that's how we
Yeah, yeah.
created Zen together, right? Which was published in Auburn, Maine in November 1987. So I took my buddy Steve up on his kindly offer. I got in my car, and drove across country to Auburn, Maine, where I lived for like for about 2021, a little bit into 2022, maybe like 2-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the neighboring town to Auburn, Maine is Lewiston, Maine. In fact, they call Lewiston, Auburn the Twin Cities, and they call it L.A., like the other L.A., Lewiston, Auburn, as opposed to Los Angeles, right?
Right.
And during the entire time I was in Maine, it was as lovely as I had remembered it in the 80s. Of course, this city's, Lewiston's a city, small city. Auburn's a city, smallish city. But, a lot of rural area, and nothing untoward, nothing unpleasant happened during the entire time I lived in Maine, either in the 80s or recently, right? So it came as an incredible shock to me and so many people when, what happened just a few days ago, right? And interestingly, you'd never know. This can happen anywhere. It can just happen anywhere. And we're not going to get into a discussion about, Second Amendment rights and everything. And we live in a big country, and if even the smallest sliver of a percentage is people who have mental issues, which they do, with the size of this country and with as many guns as are accessible, things like this happen.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Well, there was a stand-up comic. I forgot who it was now. It's like my cat and I, my daughter, Cat, the famous Cat Mouse. Yeah. We listen to a lot of stand-up comedians, and it's just, I just remember there was, it might have been Louis C.K. or somebody like that, but it was just funny because he had a line about living probably in New York. He was just living in a city, and somebody's like, there's people screaming down the street or next door, and it's like, aren't you worried? It's like, you know what? In a city this big with a million people all around you, some of them are bound to be screaming. It's just the odds, and it's just, and it's every day, and it's every minute of every day.
Yeah.
So after a while, you kind of, you don't want to become numb to it, but it's like you just realize that it's happening all the time. You just can't lose your mind every single time it happens. But you have to have some sense of decorum to your life, while all this horrible stuff is happening around you. But but going back to a lighter note, Nick, this is a good point, because for years and years and years, I had no idea Playboy had words in it.
Yeah, I mean, again, maybe there's something wrong with me, but I did buy it for the word.
Oh, no. And once you become more sophisticated, you get to enjoy both, so you enjoy the full package, But a young man in my 20s is like, oh yeah, there's pictures. but then you're talking to a comic book artist too, so I'm built for
right.
pictures.
And I'm a writer, so I went for the funny thing is, models I know say they would rather have shot for Penthouse as opposed to Playboy, as the latter's contracts were so very restrictive.
Yeah. Kevin does know a lot of different models, different areas of all kinds of modeling profession, as it were. So yeah, he's a professional photographer, so he knows, he talks to real models.
Right. And of course,
Yeah.
Guccione was an interesting A through double triple D. That's great. Steve. Pam Anderson say that triple D is a bit small. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then of course, full circle come back around. Well, it's like, don't go outside at all. It's like, but you gotta still live. It's like, gotta live your life. So, all right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna, since we're about the halfway point, I'll start drawing this piece that we're gonna give away at the end, and we'll keep on chatting.
Oh yeah, I got more to chat about. It's amazing how
Sure.
we just start. We don't plan any of this stuff out, by the way. It's just I guess we got a lot going on in our heads or something, and everybody who joins in has interesting input, right? So I'm going to go back to Maine,
These are
and I'm
my
going to
these are my people.
bring this around. Bill's going to do a really interesting sketch that one of you folks, lucky folks, is going to win. You're going to dig this one. Okay, so back to Maine. So I'm living in Auburn, Maine, next door to Lewiston, and I go to once a week. I go to this comic store, like the really good comic shop in the beautiful town of Freeport, Maine. It was about a 20-30 minute drive through pristine, gorgeous country, you know, occasionally with snow on the ground. Okay. But they're pretty good up there about removing snow, as you might suspect, right? So in the town of Freeport was .com Comics, which has since closed its doors, and I'll talk about that more specifically in a minute. But
Gotcha.
but at at the time, I did a signing at .com Comics, and it was for a new book that has never, to my knowledge, been solicited or promoted nationally. And I'm going to show you that book and tell you what it's about. And one of the things I have on my to-do list after this is to talk to my publisher to see, how many of these books are still in stock, and can they be put up at the website, at the First Comics website, so they could be bought.
Yeah.
And this ties into everything we're talking about bounty hunting, because you can see how bounty hunt obsessed I am, right? So we did this book, Bill and I, Zenisms, the wit and wisdom of the intergalactic bounty hunter. Okay. Now, this cover is not by Bill. This is the .com Comics. You see their logo there, variant edition. And the cover is done by a fella named Paul Pelletier. Now, who is Paul Pelletier? Paul Pelletier is an artist who, over the years, has drawn many, many issues of Aquaman that Jeff Johns wrote, okay, for DC. And he worked on numerous titles for DC and also for CrossGen. You might remember this company called CrossGen, where all the artists literally had to move to the publisher's compound in Florida.
Yeah, I remember that.
Florida.
Yeah.
And Paul did that. Okay. But here's the real interest. So Paul is, high profile artist. But here's what a lot of people don't know. The very first thing he ever drew was Zen.
There you go.
Oh,
I'll show you.
now,
I'll show you the Bill Moss cover.
There's Bill's cover, the original, the standard edition. Okay. And so you're looking at both. This pretty cool split screen thing here, huh, Bill?
I know, right?
Gee,
Just like
we're pretty
little,
good here.
little 3D
We're
action.
getting very professional here. So
I'll also be selling these standees at my digital shop. Sorry.
Oh, geez. Okay, that's great. Not bad.
If I can't plug my own stuff on my own show, what can you do?
Right. Then there'd be no justice in the world. But okay, so you see these two editions: Bill's standard edition and Paul Pelletier's variant edition, right?
Oh yeah.
Now, here's the thing. This book, which the entire insides is by myself and Bill, but both of them. Just that one cover is by Paul. But the thing about Paul Pelletier is that he was sort of like a neighbor of Dan's, and he was this young local kid who was starting to get a little bit of a reputation for working on independent comic books. And if my memory serves correctly, and I think it does, at least in this instance, Zen issue number 2, okay, the interior of that book was penciled, was illustrated by Paul, the entire book, right? And that's why
Gotcha.
that book is a little hard to find too. And when you do find it, people, want some serious bucks for it as a rule, right? Um, but that's another great feather in our bonnet. I mean, not only, of course, did Dan create the iconic imagery of Zen, but then we had Paul Pelletier, who went on to do projects for DC and other publishers. And then, of course, Bill comes along, and he's been like the foremost Zen artist over all these decades. And then, of course, I was lucky enough to happen upon L'Amour Supreme, who at the time was known by his birth name of Joel Orbeta, right? Airbrushing T-shirts in a mall, and he ends up doing, the 71-page Rawhead saga that was the subject of Zen's first ever Kickstarter, which those books are all and other items are all being printed right now. They'll be fulfilled. I'm almost certain before the end of the year, and then we're going to launch Bounty Wars officially on the Kickstarter, right? But
Yep. Yep. Yep.
but again, it's all about Maine. I mean, that's where I met Dan. That's where Paul came on, and that's where now that tragic thing happened in the town next door. And Dan lived in Lewiston, by the way. I lived in Auburn. Dan lived in Lewiston. Okay, as did Paul Pelletier. So that's very sad that happened there. But so Maine is very near and dear to me, and for damn good reason, right? If I hadn't moved there and I hadn't met Dan, I don't think any of this would be happening.
Well, you had some significant parts of your life happen there, so
Yeah,
and a lot of time, a lot of creativity came out of that spot.
I'm wondering if any of the folks that are listening now have ever been to Maine. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And if you haven't, or anybody listening at any juncture on this, if you get the chance to go up to Maine, by all means do so. It's just one of the most beautiful, pleasant places with the nicest people, and just, the best seafood in the world, by the way.
He hails from
He hails from home.
excuse me.
Glad you like. I
Cool
presume you
story.
mean
Yeah,
the
thanks,
story
man.
I
Yeah,
told, or
yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
I'm scrolling back up here. Let's see here.
So look, so obviously Bill has drawn the man what in this corner from a galaxy far, far away, Boba Fett, and in this corner, hailing from parts unknown, Zen. Now,
Yeah, I think somebody's got it figured out. It's a fairly simple premise that we started with, so we're good. We're good.
yeah, but this is, I'll tell you, Bill, this piece,
Sold.
and it's going to be sold. Yeah. Well, this piece, which now Zen's going to be facing off against him, that you're going to sign, and one of these fortunate folks, smart folks, is going to win. I think this
Absolutely.
piece is going to become very valuable. Seems like Zen has given a lot of up and coming artists their first work. Yeah. I'm
They
doing the same
have.
with my
Yeah.
book, mixing both up and coming artists and have some seasoned pros. Yeah, that's the formula. I mean, let's face it. When Jay Lee did the that iconic, super iconic chromium cover, you would say he was in the category of an up and coming artist, right? And Mike Mignola, he was already kind of established when we were fortunate enough to get him to do that cover. And Sam Keaton. Now, talk a little bit, Bill, because talk about like Entity Comics and Sam Keith.
Well, Don is actually more connected to Sam than I was. I was just super happy that I was able to work on some of his covers. But I don't actually know Sam myself. As far as like having a long history with him, Don was the one that actually had like a longer
Right,
friendship with him.
But isn't it true that Entity Comics was at the very first place that Sam's work got published? I think it might have been.
It might have been, but that's something
Yeah.
that Don knows a lot better than I do. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to get Don on. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
for
maybe.
sure. Yeah, that'll definitely be something that Don can elaborate on because he knows a lot more of Sam's history. He knows, and plus he's just got such a better memory than I do when it comes to because the '90s for me was like a blur. It was just like it's like one project after another, and
Yeah.
everything was just so exciting. And because when we co-founded Parody Press together, and then we
You and
co-founded me and
Don.
Don. Yeah, Don and I. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, when we started actually getting serious about producing comics together, Don lived in Eureka, California. I lived down
Yeah.
in San Diego.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to think of a way to make it more feasible for us to actually run a studio in the first place and be able to, live off of, what hopefully we'll make money wise and sales wise, all that good stuff. So we came up, our solution was that we were both going to move cross country and live in Virginia Beach. So we both moved all the way across the country to Virginia. He got himself a house. I moved into a house here, because cost of living is way less than San Diego. And the
Where
idea
did your folks live always there?
I actually grew up in Virginia Beach, for the most part, like high school and like my formative years, as it were.
Mm-hmm. I thought
So
you were
for
in your
me,
formative years now.
yeah. See, that's why I need an editor. I constantly need an editor.
Oh my God.
Oh, geez. But yeah. I
Yeah.
always need a nudge when it comes to. So, anyways, I make the pretty pictures, and I come up with
Yeah.
some cool ideas. So,
Well, to talk a little more about what Nick just mentioned, I'm constantly so many artists, young up and coming, as yet unpublished artists, have
mhm.
drawn Zen. Like today, I did a post. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet. Social media post of just a great young, well, I presume he's young artist who did his rendition of Zen. He
Yeah,
also
I saw that piece. That was a great piece.
Yeah, he also wrote that he felt he was like Zen's number one fan. And I said, well, look, you're a very talented guy, but I think there's a few people that would kind of challenge you on that, right? Which is great, right?
Which is awesome. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
But it's like, I've been thinking of different things, ways to open up the Zen universe to, uh, have the opportunity, give opportunity to some other up and coming artists. And one of them, he goes by the name Jay Tunes. Okay.
Hmm.
And he's a talented guy. He did a 10-page story with me. Okay.
Hmm.
And it's going to be published. I'm not exactly certain where. Okay. I thought I knew where it was going to be published, but then my publisher, Ken Levin, said maybe it'll be somewhere other than where I thought it would be. But Jay
Gotcha.
Tunes, and you can look him up, just Jay and Tunes, right? Maybe it's Jay and an exclamation point and Tunes. You can see his
Hmm.
work on the internet or on Instagram. Super talented guy, and I would love to. I mean, Dan was a complete young artistic novice just wanting to get into comics when I met him, right?
Right,
So
right.
Dan's like the ultimate success story of a young, new, untried artist working on an independent comic book. And same thing with Paul Pelletier, right? I mean, it was like, I think his first published work. Same thing with L'Amour Supreme. Zen was his first published work, right? So Zen sort of has a an affinity for young up and coming artists, and like with the guy who I posted about today, right?
Hmm.
Um, it just seems that there's something about Zen and his, his configuration that artists love to draw, and maybe we'll be able to do a contest or something, or whereby maybe we do alternate covers by brand new artists and people maybe vote on them or so. I want to do something, Bill, more proactive that will allow super talented young artists to, get involved with Zen on a more professional basis. So we'll have to
Yeah,
put our heads together.
maybe we should do some kind of like a fan pinup book. So that way,
That,
because
yeah,
something cool like that would be a lot of fun, and it would get a lot of attention, and it would expose you to, like, oh man, it's like, I bet, if you get a bunch of people all at the same time to draw Zen, you'll see so many different versions of Zen that you wouldn't have thought to see,
yeah.
and
Well, we're going to have to do. We did publish that book called The Art of Zen, which again, Bill,
mhm.
you did the cover of, and probably more illustrations inside the book than anyone else. But in there are, like a dozen or more amazingly talented guys. And look, talking about amazing talent, look at this piece, Bill, that you just executed while we were talking here, and now somebody's going to win
Look
it.
what we did.
Oh man, that's beautiful. I want
Here we
that
go.
piece, but no, okay.
Here we go. I'll keep it right up here so that way.
That is
That,
gorgeous. What do you guys think? What do you
yeah,
guys
you know
think?
what? I think. Well, let me because I was kind of like looking down at the paper for a little bit. So let me see here. Yeah, Sam. First of all, yeah, Sam Keith is a beast.
Oh
Definitely,
yeah,
he's his stuff. I was lucky enough to color a couple of his covers for Parody Press. We did like a Punisher parody called
right.
the Pummeler, and
Yeah,
he just goes all out. He brought his A game to that cover. It's just crazy. I love it so much.
yeah. You want to
Uh,
hear something weird? Weird. Sam and I created something together.
tell me.
Well, all I can say is this: we created a concept together, kind of a wacky superhero concept. I wrote it up, and Sam drew all the characters.
Hmm. Hmm.
A few years back, I got together with a young artist, and we put something together about it. But that didn't really go very far. Okay, I didn't promote it very much. Not really sure, but there is a possibility that in one way, shape, or form, the creation that Sam and I did may see the light of day.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
Okay,
it
that'd
was
be
it was
cool.
a
Little
yeah, yeah,
little
yeah.
little little
That's what,
cloak and
I know
dagger
it
for right
sounds
now.
kind of
So, but there's
mysterious.
something on the horizon. All right, something on the horizon. That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it was great to
No,
work with him.
yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah,
interesting dude.
yeah. Don Chin is awesome. I've known him for 30 years, dude. It's like it was my very first gig in comics altogether. My first official gig. Don was the writer on that gig. That was X Farce for Eclipse Comics, and
Yeah,
we decided to. And I did a couple of issues for Eclipse, and that's when we founded Parody Press. After that, so that was
yeah.
a lot of history. A lot of history went down. I
But
know.
I don't agree with what Kevin said. He said if there's too many people here, no. But Bill can walk and chew gum at the same time. Bill
Yeah,
actually
you know.
talks and draws at the same time.
Keith, how you doing, dude? Let's see. This will be a fight worth seeing. Zen versus the Mandalorian. Yeah, see, now we're talking. Now
You
we're
by the
talking.
by the way, you may
Mhm.
see a little comedic cameo with someone who kind of resembles the Mandalorian in Bounty Wars. Okay, because there is some funny stuff in this book,
Yeah,
as serious as it is.
you got a guy drawing your book who's done parodies for 30 years. So yeah, we got to throw in some goodies.
Yeah, listen
Let's see,
what
Kevin.
Kevin
Let's
wrote.
let's see. We can have the Rock as a referee between. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Steven, the Gen 13 parody, Skin 13. Yes, yes. In fact, I'm just finishing up a Kickstarter for Club Corrupt #1 for our next issue of Club Corrupt. I actually have the preview page in #1. We're doing a Skin 13 story in issue #2, and of course the Club Corrupt stuff is all uncensored and crazy goodness. So go look it up. It's all, we're ending on Halloween night, so it's hopefully you can be a part of it. Kevin, Steven, you can participate in the giveaway.
Does that mean me? No, I can't.
No. Of course not. Of course not. It's like, okay, Nick says I have to check that one out. Please do. You know what? And right now, I think it's our giveaway time.
Yeah,
that's what time. That's what time I think it is.
This is a really iconic piece. I mean, whoever gets
this is cool. This is fun. This is fun.
Really enjoy having it.
All right, so we know how we were doing it before. Basically, everybody's just going to type in a number. I'm going to say a number between blah and blah, and there's like 10 or 12 of us in the room right now. So I'm going to say a number between 1 and 20. I'm going to write that number down. So don't do anything yet. Don't type nothing yet, please. I'm going to put that number right over here. All right. So you see, because we're live.
Part of this live show.
And blah is not a number, Ken. Blah is not one of the selections. But please.
0.
All right. It's going to be a number from 1 to 20. That way everybody has about the same odds to try and guess it. Please start typing your numbers right now, and we'll see if we get close. We'll see what happens. And if whoever guesses the number, of course, I'm just going to mail this to you. 17, 2. Nope. We're dancing around it. I see 10. I see 8. Nope. We're dancing around. You got 3. You got 14. Nope. We're getting closer, though. We're getting closer.
Keep going, guys.
The process of elimination is amazing. 4, got 6, getting closer. My goodness, we're dancing all around it. Like usually somebody guesses it by now. It's like it's only 1 through 20. It's only 1 through 20. It's like let me scroll up, make sure I didn't miss anybody.
Keep going,
No,
guys.
9, 14, 11. No, you guys are dancing around. Around. 6, 19. All right, you get. Whoa. Let me scroll up. I think we got it. Nicholas has got it. 7. My goodness, it skipped past me. Actually,
one lucky guy.
Dude, I had to scroll up to make sure who got it first, because Kevin guessed 7 right after Nick did. So, and as far as I know, everything comes up. You guys can double check it, but it comes up the way it comes up on my.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah. It comes up the same because we're only broadcasting to one location. So thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Tell Kevin happy birthday. No, tell Nicholas congratulations.
Nick, congrats, Nick. You're gonna. That's a piece you're gonna frame.
There you go, Nick.
We'll frame that piece.
So Nick, I know that I just barely mailed you something because we just did that jam piece. So I have your address handy. So no worries. I know where I'm going to mail this piece of art to. Thanks so much for guessing the correct number. And I appreciate everybody for being here. It's like Nick.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Thanks for your continued support, everyone.
Absolutely. And, we can't do it without you. Without you guys, we don't get to do things either. And just so you know, this is the see, I'm live. Everything's good. And 7 was the number.
Wow.
Awesome. You guys are awesome. Steven, enjoy my Star Wars sketch, you lucky son of a bitch.
So good. Love it. I see
the other way around, but Nicholas earned this one. Very good. All right. Well, you know what? Steve and I both say thank you for being here tonight with us. I'm just going to roll some quick little credits, and we're going to see you. Hopefully, we'll be here again Sunday evening, 10:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you in the week. Hope everybody has a great week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a super week, and congrats, Nick. Thanks.
All right. You guys have a good one. We'll see you. We'll see you on the other side. All right. Bye-bye.
Matter.